there guys, it's Joey, and this video is just going to be a talking, musing, opinion-y style video. Some thoughts that have, I don't know, come about since yesterday, since meditations through Lunar and things of that nature. And I'm going to call this video Fragments of a Whole. And it pertains to what we share publicly, how much we share, what we see of what other people share, our reactions to that, our judgments based on that, and things of that nature. There's been a lot of controversy of late, and somewhere in most of it has come to the point with how much people share, or what people share, or what people say, advice people give, how much people share, and things of that nature. So the first thing I really wanted to say is we should be thankful that we have the opportunity to speak freely about matters of spirituality. Some parts of the world, people are stoned to death still. People are not allowed freedom of religion, spirituality, however you wish to say it. They're not allowed to speak for themselves or think for themselves. And in some cases it's greeted with death. So the fact that we have this incredible tool for self-expression, we should be overjoyed and thankful for that, and treat it with a measure of respect. Even in our parts of the world where we can speak freely, and I'm using "our" in sort of a more broader scope for those countries which have freedom of expression. But even in those, censorship is constantly a threat. There is currently issues going on with people wanting to buy YouTube and things and access YouTube and things, the large companies, so that sort of they will determine what people see, and people are fighting against it right now. It's worth bearing in mind. So, Fragments of a Whole. The first real point about that I wanted to make is when we make videos, or when you watch videos pertaining anything but spirituality in particular for our case, you're seeing a glimpse into somebody's life. A glimpse that they have chosen to record, work on perhaps, and share with you. People get into all sorts of arguments about why people choose to share it. I think for most of us, I can't speak for everybody, but obviously, but for most of us, we start off making these videos because we want to share. We want to talk to other people. We want to see how other people practice their witchcraft, in my case, or their spirituality, or how different people embrace different spiritual paths, and how it compares and contrasts to yours, because you want to share what you share, and you want to learn from what other people share. That's the wide-eyed belief at the beginning, and to be honest, it is the driving thought about why I share as much as I do. And I have come under fire for sharing too much. Now, the glimpses I give of my spiritual path are A, my choice, but B, they are a fragment of the whole. So people who make value judgments on how worthwhile my path is, or how much of a witch I am, or everything I do, seems to be, to me, a misjudgment based on a glimpse into a life. And that can be said for value judgments on anybody's videos. I recall the song by Sunscreen, I think it was, called Sunscreen, from when I was quite young, and it had a line that we should be patient with those who supply it being advice. Advice is a form of nostalgia, painting over the ugly parts and recycling it for more than it's worth. I think, personally, stories and storytelling is still a huge part of the human experience, the human psyche. And we all are storytellers of our own stories. We all impart advice based on our own personal experiences. Be it good advice or bad advice is in the eyes of the beholder, and how much worth it proves to be to the people we are giving advice to. But that's another judgment. Why we give advice sometimes comes under fire. Are we so entrenched in our own agenda? What is our agenda? Are we manipulative? I have a difficult time with people, and yet 9 times out of 10 I think advice starts out, at least, from an honest place. The arguments come later, the conflicts come later, agendas may or may not come into it later, but I think we start off just wanting to talk and share. And that should be an honoured and beautiful thing. No matter what somebody is sharing with you, or why they are sharing it with you. If you really don't resonate with a certain person, which we won't, we're human, we won't get on with people, or a point of view, or a particular spiritual path, or a particular type of video, is there a need for being destructive about it, about tearing people down? Is there a need to tear people down? I was thinking about it yesterday, about how we could say that human beings have 2 real abilities in life, 2 real paths in life: to create or to destroy. And the rest of where everything falls into these categories is entirely, again, up to your value judgment. You can see it on a very basic level. I create, therefore I am a creating person. But then some people create laws, and some of these laws are used to destroy people, or nations, or lives, or civil rights. It's a very complicated idea when you actually sit down and really go through it, because I was doing it yesterday and it was sort of twisting my head in knots. But every time someone creates a video, for the most part, they have created something. In some cases it's meant to be destructive, and in those circumstances it's best not to give it time of day, even if it makes you really angry. I think with causes you've got to pick and choose what really matters to you. For example, I decided to, on Facebook, share a poster that has been created by the English, I think it's in association with the NHS, I'm not entirely sure. I've forgotten, it's first thing in the morning, I've just had my coffee. And I'd forgotten I wanted to bring this up until right now. And I've been sharing a petition about getting it banned. It's about domestic violence and rape. And it's basically victim blaming. It says something like 1 in 3 victims have been drinking. And to me that's a cause. That's destructive. That's worth fighting against. That's worth bringing into the public eye and arguing against, because there is something going on right now with the bashing of feminism and the bashing of women in this poster in particular. And it's abhorrent. I find it abhorrent. I also find the idea that all feminists are man-haters abhorrent. And to be honest with you, I get on better with men than I do most women. Growing up, I preferred the non-sexual company of male friends. I just believe that we should have equal rights, equal pay, equal rights in terms of justice, things of that nature. That's a whole other video, so we won't get into that, but I think that is a worthy cause. And me saying that will probably get me a load of judgment. Oh, you're a woman, so. Oh, you're a man-hater, so. And the sad thing about that is it's trying to take away from what I am trying to fight for and create. And there's a lot of that. People trying to take away from what other people have created. I have my own demons about that, so, and that is something I've been working on personally. And that's something that you don't see. And that's something a lot of us don't see. Is everything else. A human being, a witch, a person of spiritual path walking, of any denomination goes through, is the rest of the story. A lot of people gloss over the ugly parts and try and recycle that experience, try and share their experiences. And for some of us, and for me, I share quite a lot, because it's almost a documentation, a diary of my spiritual path, which helps me to document, think, speak out loud and evolve. I don't have anyone I can speak to for a long period of time, face to face, about matters of spirituality. I can talk to my sister. But my sister and I have had very similar experiences and have similar outlooks. She follows a Nordic path, I follow a Celtic path. They have differences, but at the heart they're very similar in a lot of ways. That's a broad sweeping statement, do not let's not get into the argument of how different they are. I understand there are differences. What I'm saying is, in real life, I don't have someone I can sit and discuss completely different ideas of spirituality and religion. And therefore, YouTube and other online means become my outlet. I talk to people and discuss ideas of different spirituality online, with all the risks that entails. I enjoy discussion and debate. I enjoy learning from other people. I don't enjoy the insults. It's unnecessary. And people of every spiritual denomination are guilty of this. This isn't one spiritual path is more guilty than the other. That's rubbish. Good eggs, bad eggs, every basket. I do dislike the idea that our spiritual path is being judged and derogatory remarks are being made based on what we choose to share. It's like judging an artist based on one piece of work or one type of paint that they use. It's like judging a book by reading 2 lines. You don't know how active someone is as a witch, as a human, as a spiritual person. You don't know everything they've been through. And what people choose to share, or not, is altered in a few different ways. And there are going to be people who don't want to share the whole truth, or the truth at all. There are people who share the most poignant parts, and that's it. After I'd made a video the other day and uploaded it, I suddenly remembered a load more things I could have said. Times things have gone wrong, actually, and I was sat there thinking, the video was true for the moment in time in which I made it, and then I've had other thoughts later. Could I have gone back and redone it? Sure. But I could redo every single video I make in that circumstance. I think a mile a minute. And that brings up another point for the videos. You know, there are people who argue that if you're making these many videos, then you can't possibly have a spiritual life outside of them. Almost every single video I have ever made is one take. So if you get half an hour's worth of video, that's how much of my life I spent doing it. I mean, there will be the other part where I render it and upload it. And me sorting out the rendering takes 5 minutes, and then I leave it alone to render. And then I upload it, which takes me a minute, and then I leave it alone to upload while I'm doing whatever else I'm doing. So let's say 40 minutes. It might take other people longer than that, and that's why they don't make as many, and that's fine. But for me, I don't edit. If I really don't like the feel of a video, you won't see it. That doesn't happen very often though. Once or twice every 6 months maybe. But the length of videos is how much time I spend on them. And how much time I spend on them is entirely up to me, and it isn't for anybody else to value judge whether my spiritual path is worth it or not. based on what I upload. Fragments of a whole. And I try my very, very best not to judge people based on what they share. We are human beings and we are flawed. Like I said before, I am flawed, I am trying. And I try and bear that in mind. Now, there are videos which are created for the sole purpose of being antagonistic. People do it. And a very wise woman said the problem with YouTube is that, unlike blogging or writing, people just spew what comes into their heads a lot of the time. And that's how angry, venty, ragey, swearing swearing is debatable, but you know, when people are really angry they tend to swear a lot. Nasty, argumentative, antagonistic videos come to light. I would argue the only people that are poisoned by said videos are twofold: the people making the video and those that allow themselves to be poisoned by said video. I've been guilty of that in the past, and certain things still upset me. You know, I'm human. So first and foremost, the person who makes the video is poisoning their own soul, especially if they're dredging up things over and over and over again rather than getting on with their lives. I've had that. And I have to get to the point, you have to get to the point where you're just like, the only person you're hurting is yourself. The only person you are discrediting is yourself. You have to look at why you felt the need to be antagonistic. Is it a worthwhile cause? Not usually in YouTube videos that are antagonistic towards one person or group of other people. Not usually. If there is something that really needs addressing, then something really needs addressing, then fair enough. But we have to discover and realise the difference between picking a worthwhile cause and mob mentality. You do not have to show up to every argument you are invited to. You do not have to take the advice of every video that you see. So similarly, you don't have to be offended by every antagonistic video. So, first and foremost, if you're considering making such a video, you have to really examine why. Why are you making an antagonistic video? Is it going to help anybody? Yourself included? I would think not. And then if you are deeply offended by a person's point of view, you have to sit there and ask yourself why. And with recent conflict, I've actually gotten to the point where in a lot of cases I sure can go, meh. Meh. There are certain things which I think are worthy of discussion and debate, although having adult conversations with the individuals first might be an idea. I do agree with that. I think if you feel targeted, unless there's an ongoing argument with a person or something, then why can't we have adult conversations? I try and do that in honesty first. It doesn't work out sometimes, but it's worth a shot, right? We are open enough about our spirituality to make videos and discuss and debate how we feel, but we can't go to a person and talk to them. Why not? Why not try a civil and private method first? I've been through that. I've been on the other side of that. So I've seen both sides of it. And these are real people that we are hurting, no matter how we hurt them. And I think that gets lost. Oh, they're videos, so they're not real people. They're real people with real lives that bleed real blood and hearts pump and have feelings and thoughts. Our feelings and thoughts are no better than anybody else's feelings and thoughts, for the most part. It's just different. I say for the most part because obviously there are extreme exceptions to the rule. And again, that's a value judgment, but to be honest, I wouldn't place much value on a psychopath's thoughts. So there you go. Is it worth our time to judge people based on what they share? What does it matter to us? Somebody else's spiritual path. Now, if I see something which I feel needs addressing, I will address it. I addressed the idea of Morrigan being a fluffy bunny, which I had read on a site somewhere, having flowers and things, and I felt very strongly about addressing that because I don't know, I felt it was an unbalanced interpretation or representation even of the Morrigan, which could be dangerous to some people, going to the Morrigan and expecting that. Either that or it was a misconstruction of the goddess Bloodowith, and therefore it was misinformation. And you can get information based on lore, myths, books, etc. And that's the final point I want to make. We are not experts. We are not experts. There is no such thing as a spiritual expert, I'm sorry. An expert in a field is someone who's been doing it for a particular amount of time, has a particular amount of degrees, has read a particular amount of books, etc., and can do a job. We're not doing a job in our expression of spiritual viewpoints. We're sending a message, we're self-expression. We may not pick jobs, career paths, etc. pertaining to that. Tarot readers, store owners, spiritual teachers, artists. But the expression of spirituality in itself isn't a job and should be joyous and fun and light-hearted sometimes and serious sometimes and more balanced. I honestly think being serious about your spirituality all the time without laughter is a one-way ticket, at least for me, to depression. You were granted a sense of humour in the Divine's wisdom. Use it. But we are not experts. I would advise anybody to read as much as they can. I would not... I would encourage people to read with a discriminating mind. That, to me, doesn't make you any more or less of a witch. It exposes you to more opinions. You may disagree with certain opinions, and then you look at why that is. Do certain things resonate with you or not? And you'll know it's an intuitive gut reaction. And then you look at that intuitive gut reaction. Why does this resonate with me, or why doesn't it? And then you pick that apart and add it to yourself. Does it not resonate with you because you're being egotistical, because you're being stuck in the mud, because you're being stubborn? Or does it not resonate with you because it's not to do with how you see the world? Or it's worth sort of deconstructing your reactions to things. And I would wholeheartedly encourage people to read. Personally, I don't have access to a lot of spiritual teachers anymore. And here's something that I don't talk about. In the beginning of my path, I was. And they were some wise women. But they also said to me that it was private. So I haven't talked about it. And I won't talk about it any more than that. But I thought it was worth putting that on here, because that's something I have not mentioned in my years of YouTube. And that's something people, until this video, will not have known about my spiritual experience. Because whilst I am solitary, it doesn't mean I've never had a teacher. And that's worth bearing in mind, because I'm often accused of oversharing, and yet there are things that I have not shared and you will not know unless I tell you. These are fragments of a whole. Fragments of a whole. Many blessings.